On the air as Texas Governor Greg Abbott begins a briefing with an update on the mass shooting that killed 19 children and 2 teachers at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas on Tuesday. It comes after a shocking news conference earlier today during which a Texas Department of Public Safety official admitted local law enforcement made a wrong decision by not entering the classroom earlier to confront the gunman. Many in the community now outraged that the rampage went on for more than an hour as some parents tried to pass police to get into that school. The governor is speaking. Let's listen in.
One thing I must emphasize, and that is we are going through short-term challenges right now. The reality is many of the challenges will be long-term challenges. Texas stands with Uvalde for the long term in helping every single person in this community be able to piece their lives back together, to heal as much as they possibly can. We will be here as long as it takes. Among other things, and I know that there have already been some offerings to ensure that cost of funerals will be taken care of. During the course of the meeting, there was an anonymous donor who attended the meeting and provided $175,000 to ensure that every cost of every family concerning anything about the funeral services is going to be taken care of. We appreciate that anonymous donor for his generosity, and we will ensure that those resources get into the right hands to make sure that no family who is suffering from incalculable heartbreak at this time will have to worry about a single cost with regard to anything concerning this travesty. Now, in addition to that, there are all kinds of needs as well as all kinds of services. One of the needs is need for mental health care. And we have an abundance of mental health care services that we are going to be able to provide. That includes state and private providers that will be providing mental health assistance to anyone in the community who needs it. And when I say anyone, that means the totality of anybody who lives in this community. We believe that you would benefit from mental health care services. Those mental health care services are free. We just want you to ask for them. The way that you can ask for them, whether it be today, tomorrow, next month, or next year, is this number: 888-690-0799. Mental health care can be reached by calling 888-690-0799. That helpline will be answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whenever you need it. In addition to that, I am announcing the establishment of the One Star Foundation Fund to assist with ongoing challenges that would be faced by the victims of this crime. To put this into perspective, to help you understand how this works, we opened up a fund like this in the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey to assist all of the thousands of victims of Hurricane Harvey and received millions of dollars in support that went to those who face challenges because of Hurricane Harvey. The exact same thing applies here. Right here is the address. It's onestarfoundation.org. onestarfoundation.org. To be more precise, if you go to onestarfoundation.org/Uvalde, you make a contribution at that site that is already a pre-registered 501c3 organization, provide a donation to that site. There is no overhead cost. 100% of the money that you donate is going to be going directly to victims of this horrible crime to help them with their lives. One of the pre-designated donation sites that it would be going to is the Robb School Memorial Fund. So again, the onestarfoundation.org.Uvalde. Well, you can do your part to help out the people in this community that are suffering in incalculable ways. In addition to that, we have set up a central headquarters for Victim Assistance Services at the Family Assistance Center located at the Uvalde County Fairplex. As we'll discuss probably here momentarily, there may be a relocation of that site, and we will keep everybody fully informed about where the relocation site will be. Every family impacted by the shooting has been assigned an advocate to help them with their needs. Among other things, there will be airfare, for example, whether it be through American Airlines, United Airlines, or JetBlue Airlines, that will provide victims' families with flights free of charge so that they can get here and be with their family members. The Family Assistance Center will cover the travel and lodging costs of families who have lost loved ones. Healthcare costs of families impacted by this tragedy will also be covered by Texas insurance companies and donations from private citizens. The Texas Housing and Community Affairs, for example, they have a fund to pay for needed supplies right now, whether it be food or gas or other essential needs. And that money is available right now as we speak. Also, at the Family Assistance Center, the Health and Human Services Commission, who you'll be hearing from more here in a second, they will assist families in finding health and human benefit programs. Staff from the Texas Department of Insurance, the Teachers Retirement System, the Employees Retirement System will provide access to benefits, including workers' compensation. Staff from the Texas Workforce Commission are available to get families child care and unemployment benefits. And state staff are available to provide assistance to business owners impacted by this tragedy. Healing the broken hearts, it's going to take a long time. But through the generosity of our fellow Texans and the good works of neighbors helping neighbors, we can begin to stitch back together the fabric of Uvalde. Helping us to do that is the leader of Uvalde himself, and that is the mayor of Uvalde, who I would like to ask to speak at this time.
Governor, I'd like to thank you for bringing all these state agencies here and the services you've offered our community, our citizens, because these families are going to need this help, not just today, but in the long term, as you mentioned. So for that, Governor, I appreciate it. And you know, all I can say is I've seen you these last 2 days and the compassion and that you felt along with these families, and that I really admire it. I thank you. And like I said, and we appreciate everybody from all over the world and the country that has sent messages of encouragement and so forth. I mean, our hearts are broken here in Uvalde. It's a very, I mean, you know, nobody ever wants to have to go through this, especially as a mayor. I never thought this was something I would have to go through. My heart's broken for these families. But the one good thing about our community is Uvalde is a strong community. I think if some of you reporters have been here a while enough, you'll see that there's a lot of unity in our community, and it will take some time, but we will get over this, and Uvalde will come back stronger and better than ever. So God bless you, and thank you.
Thank you very much. And someone who has been actively engaged in helping the victims of crime already and will remain engaged all the way through is the District Attorney, Christina Mitchell.
Thank you, Governor, for being here. And we want to thank everybody that's reached out to us in Uvalde from across the state, from across the country, and across the world. We greatly appreciate all the support and kind words and prayers and assistance that has been sent to us. And like the mayor said, here in Uvalde County, we are down-to-earth people, we are salt-of-the-earth people, and we are a family. And like a family, we're going to get through this together with each other and for each other, and we're asking everybody across the world to continue to support us. So I, the district attorney, along with the FBI victims assistance people, the DPS victim assistance people, the Attorney General's office, we have set up a family assistance center at the Uvalde County Fairplex here in Uvalde. And at that center, it's a one-stop shop for all the victims. And we say victims, we mean everybody that was associated with Robb Elementary School. And when you come there, you're going to meet with a counselor, you're going to meet with all the services that the state has to offer, funeral services, Blue Cross Blue Shield, the Mexican consulate is there, the Red Cross is there, and we're there to provide all the services any family may need. And if you need something that's not there, then let me know and we will find it for you. And that's going to be open and continue until June the 1st. We are open from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. There's also food there and a play center for children. And please come and see us. Any victims, anybody that needs help, please come there. It's a resource for everybody. There's also a victim services center at the Civic Center that's run by the school district.
All right, we've been listening to Governor Abbott's news conference there in Uvalde, Texas right now, talking about victims assistance and some of the things that are being done for those families that lost their children and lost their loved ones. I do want to go to NBC's Morgan Chesky, who has been reporting from Uvalde all week and joins me now. Morgan, I'm sure those victims assistance officers, those advocates have probably been working overtime today after that news conference and all of that new information that we've just learned about some of the mistakes that were made by police in the moments right after the shooting started.
Yeah, Tom, really a stunning admission from the director of Texas Department of Public Safety, Stephen McGraw, just hours ago, in which he said that there was a gap in time, 47 minutes. 12:03 p.m. on Tuesday, Tom, there were up to 19 officers inside Robb Elementary. They did not breach the door to take out that gunman until 12:50. Now, he explained the reasoning behind that, saying that it was the decision made by the local commander on scene, a Uvalde police officer, saying that this had transitioned from an active shooter situation to a barricaded shooter situation, and a situation, I should add, that according to officials, they didn't believe anyone was at any immediate risk. I say that because there were still students, Tom, inside that classroom with this gunman who was armed with a rifle that, according to officials, he fired hundreds of times in a time span of just a few minutes here. We're also learning about how some of those students in 4 other classrooms were able to get out of this school, Tom. We're told that officers helped them out of windows. That corroborates the story of a young 4th grader I spoke to yesterday who says he didn't feel safe until he saw the men in camouflage open up a window or break through a window and start helping them outside where they were able to run to safety. He says it wasn't until then that he could stop hearing the gunshots and he knew that he was all right. There are also warning signs that have come to light, according to investigators, Tom, that go back as far as last year that raise potential red flags here. Maybe not to law enforcement, but certainly for the community. Investigators saying that this gunman asked his sister to buy him a gun last September when he was just 17. He needed someone at least 18 to purchase that gun for him. She said no. And then we heard more about some online chatter happening between the suspect and others discussing school shootings, discussing purchasing of weapons in February, in March, leading up until what took place on Tuesday. For as much as we heard, Tom, I think what sticks with us is that there are still so many more questions here. Most of all, why did they wait so long to enter that room? The director of the Texas Department of Public Safety saying, in hindsight, it was a mistake. There are 21 crosses behind me, Tom. 21 sets of parents and family members who wish that mistake wasn't made.
Yeah, I'm sure any of those answers from today are not going to satisfy any of those families. I think, Morgan, one of the most chilling details and maybe most upsetting things that we learned today was that there were actually students inside calling 911 as this was happening.
That's right. And not just 1 or 2 calls, Tom. There were repeated calls. And it's important to note the timing of when these calls came in. We know that officers initially received fire, a group of about 3, one of which was wounded. That drove them back because of this firepower this gunman had. But when that larger group got inside, Tom, they essentially waited. And it was during that time span of 47 minutes, we know that there were 911 calls made, Tom, where students inside classrooms were calling, whispering for help, describing the scene to dispatchers inside. One girl describing how the gunman shot through a door window, what he was saying, calling for help. And this, I think, struck us because when we asked officials why they didn't move in sooner, they said that, again, they needed to wait for tactical gear. When it arrived, there was still a lapse of about half an hour And those 911 calls, while we haven't heard them directly, Tom, they give clear indication that there were students in need. Tom?
All right, Morgan Chesky for us. I want to bring in NBC Justice correspondent Pete Williams, who joins me with the latest on the investigation and the timeline. And Pete, I think one image that we're not going to forget ever from this are the parents outside the school pleading with police officers to let them in, to go in, to charge the suspect. And as we've received more information and a clearer look at the timeline, but again, this may change again, Pete, you've honed in on a few different times where police clearly dropped the ball here.
Well, I think the question that they're going to have to answer is the question this may sound odd. I think the question is, where was the janitor? Why did it take so long to get the key from the janitor to open the door? Did they simply not think about opening the door with a key? What the explanation we got today from the police was that they didn't want to make the situation worse. That's what the Texas Department of Public Safety has been told by the police officers on the scene, that they thought that because so many rounds were fired the moment that Ramos walked in, more than 100 rounds, that they assumed that he had done the bulk of his shooting, and that then it was simply a hostage situation, and they didn't want to make it worse for whoever might still be surviving or in need of medical attention. So they wanted to make sure that when they got in, it would be decisive. They had to have a solid plan for getting in. But why did it take all that time to think about getting the key to unlock the door? I mean, I think that's a big question that's going to come up. And then, of course, you have these two calls from the 911 calls from the young women in the schoolroom, from the girl students, one of them saying, please send the police now. Did the on-scene commander in the school know about those calls? The Texas Department of Public Safety says they don't know the answer to that question. And then, of course, two other things that came up today. We know now that the door into the schoolroom had a window. Was there an option to try to fire through the window at him? Or what about the exterior windows in the school? So, as you say, Tom, still a lot of questions yet to be answered.
And Pete, you know, police also had an initial opportunity to stop this shooter. We learned that the school resource officer, who was not on campus, apparently drove by the shooter and thought the suspect was someone else.
Right. Didn't know that Ramos, according to the police, had actually climbed over the fence at that point and was crouching down behind a car in the parking lot, so that when the school resource officer arrived in his patrol car, he drove past Ramos, not knowing he was there, saw someone at the other end of the school, thought that might be the shooter, but it was a teacher. And we also learned about other problems today. The door to the school had been propped open. That's a violation of the school safety protocols. The door to the classroom was unlocked, which is another violation. So it almost seems like everything that could have gone wrong here did.
All right, Pete, we thank you for that. This shooting, of course, has reignited the fierce debate over access to guns, and in particular, access to assault rifles. Senior Capitol Hill correspondent Garrett Hake is reporting in Houston today, where the annual convention for the National Rifle Association is underway and where hundreds of protesters are gathered outside. And Garrett, we expect to hear from former President Trump as well.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. That national debate really encapsulated just on the street outside this convention center, where for hours, hundreds of gun safety demonstrators have been shouting across the street at attendees at this NRA convention, telling them first to get out of Houston and then to telling them that they want to see change. They don't want to see any more of their children killed. Now, we've already had some of the major figures who were expected to speak at this convention drop out. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick putting out a statement this morning saying that although he considers himself to be a strong Second Amendment supporter, he didn't want to add to the grief of the families by appearing here today. Likewise, Texas Senior Senator John Cornyn not appearing today, but Ted Cruz, the junior senator, speaking momentarily, and of course, former President Trump, the headlining event here tonight. Tom, I've been talking to attendees here, and they are just as divided in many cases as the rest of the public about what Washington or Austin could do to change policy to make schools safer. I've heard from folks who say the age to buy an assault-style weapon should in fact be raised. I've heard from other folks saying that's an unacceptable infringement on their Second Amendment freedoms, and that the issues here are about mental health and about making schools safer. It's worth noting that Governor Abbott, moments before appearing at this press conference, a taped message from him was played at this event in which he said there are hundreds of laws on the books in terms of regulating firearms. None of them prevented Uvalde, he said, and in fact, the shooter already committed a felony before he even pulled the trigger by bringing that weapon onto school grounds. He makes this point to argue against any additional gun laws in response to this massacre. Tom?
Garrett, I know we have some new reporting on what we expect President Trump to say. We have some excerpts from his remarks. And from the remarks that I read, it sounds like he is not going to back away at all. And he's also talking a lot about mental health, but making the argument that this is even more reasons to arm law-abiding citizens.
Trump has been wholly inconsistent as a political figure when it comes to guns. When he was a private citizen, he wrote about wanting to ban assault weapons. As president, he often publicly ruminated about other gun control actions, but never publicly advocated for them, including when he had full Republican control of both chambers in Congress. In those excerpts, he does talk about mental health as a primary issue here. He's expected to speak for at least an hour today in front of these NRA members. And Tom, I'd be very surprised to see him advocate for any specific gun-related legislation in a forum like this.
All right, Garrett Haake for us tonight. Garrett, we thank you for that. That concludes our special report for right now. I'll have much more this evening on NBC Nightly News. I'm Tom Yamas. We thank you for watching.
And it is inexcusable that they may have suffered from any inaccurate information whatsoever. And it is imperative that the leaders of the investigations about exactly what happened get down to the very second of exactly what happened with 100% accuracy and explain it to the public, but most importantly, to the victims who've been devastated.
If I could just quickly follow up, law enforcement has, sir.
He had a backup question, and I'm coming to you next.
Law enforcement has traditionally been the pride of the state in many ways. Are you worried that that bond of trust has been ruptured, and it's going to be a long time before there is sort of that bond of trust?
My expectation is that as we speak, and every minute going forward, law enforcement is going to earn the trust of the public by doing exactly what they're supposed to do from this point on, and that is making sure that they thoroughly, exhaustively investigate exactly what happened and explain to you and the public and the victims of the crime exactly what happened. I told this guy I was coming to him next.
Yes, sir. I'm Sid Christensen with the San Antonio Express News and Hearst newspapers. We're all wondering whether you're going to call a special session to deal with this, specifically the issue of gun violence. I'm told Republicans are joining Democrats and asking for one. And is there going to be any specific legislation to come out of that? For example, will you roll back some of the liberalizations that you made in gun ownership and gun usage, such as the so-called constitutional carry? That's a big issue for a lot of people.
Sure.
We feel like that man should never have had a gun to start with.
Well, let me answer your second question first, and then I'll answer your first question. So in your second question, you talked about the rollback of any of the legislation that I signed this past session. Let's be clear about one thing. None of the laws that I signed this past session had any intersection with this crime at all. No law that I signed allowed him to get a gun, the gun that he did get. And so, again, there was nothing about the laws from this past session that has any relevancy to the crime that occurred here. With regard to special session, let me just say this, and that is, first of all options are on the table. Second, most importantly, to your point, do we expect laws to come out of this devastating crime? The answer is absolutely yes. And there will be laws in multiple different subject areas. For example, I do fully expect to have every law that we pass in the aftermath of the Santa Fe shooting to be completely revisited. And first, we need to gain the information about exactly what happened at the school to find out the extent to which those laws were complied with, to the extent that they were not complied with, to find out what shortcomings allowed this travesty to occur. Then second, we need to have a discussion and pass laws to make sure that our schools are safer. And the people of Uvalde, but the people of Texas deserve that. Second, as I was discussing 2 days ago, you can expect robust discussion, and my hope is laws passed that I will sign addressing health care in this state. There is an array of health care issues that we face as a state in general, but there are an array of health care issues that relate to those who commit gun crimes in particular. Those need to be addressed, whether it be the health care issues that I talked publicly here with the mayor about 2 days ago, and that would affect the community in general, or whether it be laws that address the challenges that are now surfacing that this killer had in his life that lead to someone doing what he did. And then there will be all other kinds of issues. But there will be committees formed, there will be meetings held, there will be proposals that will be derived, many of which will lead to laws that will be passed in the state of Texas. Because let me make one thing perfectly clear. The status quo is unacceptable. This crime is unacceptable. We're not going to be here and talking about it and do nothing about it. We will be looking for the best laws that we can get passed to make our communities and schools safer. Go ahead.
The follow-up I have on that is pretty simple. Will universal background checks be one of the laws that ends up being proposed or passed? We had an APF source tell us today that you could spend $100 billion on mental health care, but without universal background checks, it's worthless. Somebody gets through, somebody will kill again. And really, how do you plan to stop a thing like this from happening again? Can you?
Let's be clear about a couple of things that show that these background checks, if everyone wants to seize upon a particular strategy and just assume, well, that's the golden strategy right there. Look at what happened in the Santa Fe shooting. A background check had no relevancy whatsoever because the killer took the gun from his parent. Look at what happened in the shooting in Sutherland Springs. There was a background check that was done. It was done in a flawed way that allowed the killer to get a gun. And so anyone who suggests, well, maybe we should focus on background checks as opposed to mental health, I suggest to you is mistaken. If there's anybody here who thinks we have perfect health care in this country, in this world, they're wrong. If there's anybody who thinks that we can't do more to address mental health care, they're wrong. They can. We can. And we're going to. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yes.
I'd like to know what you've been told by investigators now about what DPS Director Steve Cross said was a refugee mistake by the commander. Why did you make the decision to not go in? What have you been told? Why did you decide it wasn't an active shooter situation anymore? And why was he in charge of this thing? Have you been told anything about that? Why were the city police not?
What I've been told about that is several things. One is that this is an ongoing investigation and that there have been obviously new facts and information surfaced, revealed as a result of that investigation that are different today than they were 2 days ago. Second, there will be ongoing investigations that detail exactly who knew what when, who was in charge of what strategy, why was that particular strategy employed, why were other strategies not employed. Bottom line would be, why did they not choose the strategy that would have been best to get in there and to eliminate the killer and to rescue the children?
Governor,
I can't hear you.
Governor,
I can't hear you.
would you consider a banning of 18 years old buying AR-15? Governor, please, would you consider? Yes, this is me, Antonio, Univisión. Thank you.
Antonio, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Just this, in a very respectful way, Governor, would you consider, this is a kid, 18 years old, would you consider at least a ban on 18 years old being able to buy a AR-15? That's what I'm asking.
So it's my understanding that ever since Texas has been a state, an 18-year-old has had the ability to buy a long gun, a rifle. Right. And since that time, it seems like it's only been in the past decade or two that we've had school shootings. So for a century and a half, 18-year-olds could buy rifles, and we didn't have school shootings, but we do now. Maybe we're focusing our attention on the wrong thing, and we're focusing it on.
I'm not doing a political statement. My colleagues are asking for a special session. You're getting a letter tomorrow in the caucus, the Senate Democratic caucus. We've asked for gun control changes. I'm asking you now to bring us back in 3 weeks. I apologize for interrupting this press conference about the needs of this community. I've been here for 3 days with all of these elected officials. This county judge has worked his ass off. The mayors and city council people. I don't know how to express the loss of the families that I've talked to. And I know you feel it too. We have to do something, man. Your own colleagues are calling me and telling me an 18-year-old should have a gun. This is enough. Call us back, man. Just call us back.
Next question. I can't hear you.
Governor, was the chief
Speak up.
on that earlier question about the Uvalde Consolidated School District, Chief Pete Arredondo, are you specifically investigating him, and what is the status of his employment? Has he been stood down under investigation?
Sure. Can I was unable to hear the first part of your question. Would you restate it?
On the school's police chief, Pete Arredondo, the gentleman who stopped police going in earlier, is he specifically under investigation, and what is the status of his employment? Has he been stood down pending investigation? What is the situation?
Okay. So every act by every official involved in this entire process is under the investigation conducted both by the Texas Rangers and by the FBI. Every act of all of those officials will be known and identified and explained to the public. But I cannot overemphasize enough, we need to get that information to the families of all these victims who deserve to know the most. As far as his employment status is concerned, that's something that is beyond my control and I have no knowledge about.
Governor, will the laws address?
Sure.
What do you plan to do to hold the local police accountable? You're talking about 40 minutes not entering the classroom. Is there anything on your end that you can do to hold the police accountable?
You know, as the governor said, I'm not in law enforcement. I have not. I'm the mayor of the city, and once we know what took place, what went down, we'll get to the bottom of it and see. I've been just as confused as you are, because as the governor was, I got the same information that the governor got until yesterday afternoon. I was blown away, and again this morning, other information. So I don't have an answer for you yet, but I can tell you if we need to make changes in that, we will.
Governor,
Governor, you're asking and you're making mental health more available. Governor, we got one question. Come on. That's it? That's it. Unbelievable.
Madam DA with ABC News. Can we get you for a second?